the forgotten World War II heating system that saved civilians from freezing nights. The cold didn't knock politely during World War II. It kicked the door in. Fuel was rationed, electricity was unreliable or gone entirely, and winter didn't care who you were. Yet, across bombed cities and frozen countrysides, civilians survived nights that should have killed them, with just one log of wood. Not a stove roaring all night, not central heating, one log, burned once. Heat that lasted until morning. This isn't folklore. This is a real heating system modern homes quietly forgot. Let's get straight into it. Why cold was a silent enemy in World War II. Bombs get the headlines. Hunger gets the sympathy. But cold was the slow killer. During World War II, winters in Europe were brutal. The winter of 1941 to 1942 alone dropped temperatures far below freezing for weeks. Coal was diverted to factories and trains. Firewood was scarce. Gas lines were damaged. Civilians were told to make do. Many lived in unheated apartments, cellars, or partially destroyed homes. Hypothermia didn't need a front line. It crept in at night. That's where necessity rewrote the rules of heating. The one-log heating system explained. This system wasn't about warming the whole house. It was about survival. The principle was simple and ruthless in its efficiency. Instead of burning wood fast and hot, you burned it slow, painfully slow. One dense log, often hardwood, was placed into a sealed masonry stove or heavy clay heater. Airflow was restricted on purpose. The fire smouldered rather than flamed. The goal wasn't flames. The goal was stored heat. As the log burned over several hours, the thick walls of the stove absorbed the heat. Stone, brick, clay. These materials acted like a thermal battery. Once the log was consumed, the stove stayed hot. Not warm, hot. Radiating heat steadily for 12 to 24 hours without another piece of fuel. One log, one burn. All-night heat. Why this worked when modern heating fails. Modern heating systems chase instant comfort. Thermostats kick on, warm air blows, then it shuts off. Then back on again. It's efficient on paper, but fragile. Remove electricity or fuel supply, and it's over. The World War II system didn't care about grids or pipes. It relied on physics, thermal mass. Once heat is locked into dense material, it escapes slowly, very slowly. A properly built masonry heater could keep a small living space above freezing, even in sub-zero conditions. Civilians slept near these stoves, clothes dried on them, bread was warmed on their surfaces. Some families timed their entire daily routine around that single burn. This wasn't comfort heating. This was survival engineering. Here's where it gets impressive. These stoves weren't crude. The internal channels were designed so smoke and hot gases travelled a long winding path before exiting the chimney. That meant maximum heat transfer, less waste, less smoke, more warmth captured. In some designs, the exhaust leaving the chimney was cool enough to touch. That's how efficient they were. Modern fireplaces lose most of their heat straight up the chimney. These stoves refused to let heat escape without paying rent. And because the fire burned completely, just slowly, there was less soot and less risk of chimney fires. A critical detail when firefighters were overwhelmed or non-existent during wartime. Who used this system? Civilians, not soldiers. Families, elderly people, children, everyone really. Entire apartment blocks sometimes shared a single masonry heater. Out in rural areas, you'd find similar principles at work with clay ovens and enclosed hearths. And in cities, older buildings with those thick, solid walls made the effect even stronger. This system didn't require daily fuel stockpiles. 1 log a day could be scavenged, traded, or salvaged from debris. In a world of ration cards and shortages, that really mattered. Somewhere along the way, we decided heat should be instant, invisible, and endless. We traded resilience for convenience. Today, most homes lose heat quickly. Thin walls, lightweight materials, minimal thermal mass. If the power goes out in winter, panic sets in within hours. World War II civilians built homes that remembered heat. The one-log system wasn't just about the stove, it was about mindset. Heat was precious. It was captured, stored, respected. Rooms were closed off. Heavy curtains were used. Doors were sealed. People adapted their behavior to the environment instead of fighting it blindly. That knowledge didn't disappear because it was wrong. It disappeared because cheap energy made it unnecessary, until it isn't. Why does this still matter today? Well, extreme weather is back in the conversation. Power outages, energy shortages, rising costs. Suddenly, the idea of heating a home without constant fuel doesn't sound old-fashioned. It sounds smart. Modern masonry heaters still exist. Some are capable of over 80% efficiency. 1 or 2 burns a day can heat an entire home. No fans, no electronics, just physics doing the heavy lifting. World War II civilians didn't have luxury. They had ingenuity. And that ingenuity kept them alive through nights that should have ended differently. The real lesson from 1 log, it's not nostalgia. It's a reminder. Survival doesn't always mean more technology. Sometimes it means better use of what you already have. 1 log wasn't much, but when used intelligently, it became a lifeline. In a war defined by destruction, this quiet system saved lives without firing a single shot. No medals, no monuments, just warm mornings after frozen nights. And that might be one of the most powerful untold stories of World War II. If stories like this matter to you, if you want the hidden mechanics of history that actually changed lives, make sure you subscribe to 0 Hour Worldwar2. Share this with someone who thinks history is just dates and battles. And let us know in the comments what forgotten wartime survival trick shocked you the most.